Right folks, Will at LO Workshop, and what you see before you is a complete Land Rover wiring loom. And I've made this video as kind of a reference. I'm going to take you around the vehicle, take you, well, what would be the vehicle, take you around the wiring loom, so you can try and understand. It might be helpful for you to understand where the connectors go, how things are laid out, that kind of stuff. Also, what you may find useful is on LR Workshop, I've created a pictorial guide of wiring looms. I'm adding them all the time as I get access to wiring looms. And if the video is a bit difficult to understand, then at your leisure you can go and look at the pictures of the wiring looms and see how the connectors are, how they're all laid out, and understand things in a bit more detail. So links on the screen and in the description. Now this is actually a 300 TDI rest of the world spec loom, so 2002 to 2006, which are incredibly rare actually, but it's the only thing I've got complete because I'm collecting all the looms. So Td5s will be very similar to this. Pumas are a bit different in the layout, so don't take that as read, and 300 TDIs and 200 TDIs and earlier are a little bit different as well. So this kind of is applicable for vehicles 1999 to 2006. I say this is the rest of the world spec, it's actually South African spec. So there's a couple of differences in here, but I'll point those out. It's essentially, it's got rear speakers, it's got an immobiliser, and it's got central door locking as well. Right, so where do we start? I guess let's start in what would be the engine bay, as soon as we're looking at that. So on the right hand side here, from the bulkhead, we've got this section comes down here, and I was going to say as well, this is I'm going to be testing my knowledge on this, and I may not get everything right, but I'll put things on the screen if I get it wrong and update it at a later update anything that I get wrong. But this is going to be a good test of my knowledge because I've pored over this stuff quite a lot. Anyway, here goes. So coming out the right hand side on the bulkhead, we've got this goes off to the door loom. We've got the door opening switch, and this is central door locking. Goes in there, feeds down, comes out the A-pillar. Here we've got this is brake light switch. This is the bonnet opening switch. This is the connection to the wing loom here, and then this are the brake light switch, the low level brake light. Brake fluid coming down. This is the right hand wing loom, and this one's actually a Td5, but it's very similar to 300 TDI rest of the world. This one's got headlamp levelling, and this is the headlight, side light and indicator, side repeater. Oh no, sorry, that's the purple, white. That one's a horn, because Td5's got two horns on the front. That's a horn, that's the side repeater there. Right, coming back up into this mess. This is the earth connection. This goes on into this hole here. I think it's that one there. This is a recognisable area of the bulkhead because there's a whole load of connectors that are clipped down onto this section here. Now in here, these are chassis looms. This is the accessory socket connection. Let's get some of the focus better on that. So this is the accessory socket. This is rear speakers specific to later Puma vehicles and also South African. And then this is the general kind of rear chassis brake lights and heated rear window and that kind of stuff. In this section here, we've got also on the chassis loom some more lights on here, fog lights, that kind of stuff connected into the chassis loom. And then this is for the these two connectors for the engine loom. The chassis loom then comes off down here and goes off under the vehicle on the right hand side, and then goes off down on the right hand chassis rail down there. This connector here is the earth point for the right hand side of the transfer box, which is taped up, but it would be under there. That's on the right hand side of the transfer box near the bracket where it connects to the chassis. On there, right, let's follow the engine loom. So this comes down, this is the glow plug, connected to the glow plug harness. This follows on. This one's actually an air conditioning. So this is for the compressor, air conditioning compressor, and this is for the fuel solenoid, oil pressure. Here we've got the temperature sensor and also the air conditioning temperature sensors. This goes over to the alternator, and then this on the front is for the condenser fan. The rest of the engine wire loom goes off under the back here. Well, this one comes over to the side to the starter motor, and the engine wire loom goes off under this side of the gearbox. So I'll show you that in a minute. The rest of the bulkhead loom comes out on the left hand side here. This one goes off under the gearbox tunnel, and I'll show you that in a minute. On the right hand side here we've got the heater blower, and this is the left hand door loom, comes and connects in here. This is for central door locking, and this is the door switch that feeds into there, like that. This is the wing loom. Now this is also a Td5 wing loom, so very similar to the rest of the world spec, except for the fact it's got the B-bus connector here, but they're essentially the same. You can have this on, it doesn't matter, it would work with the rest of the world spec. And then we've got headlights, and this is for the washer. These are the washer pumps. And then we've got another horn, headlight leveling, side lights. This is for the also for the B-bus. There's one cut off there, but that would be the indicators, and this is the side lights. Right. So now let's go and look inside the cab. So we can see that. Right. So on this side here, on the left hand side, this is a right hand drive vehicle. This is for the wiper motor, which fits on there. And then we've got left hand speakers here as well. This is the centre of the dashboard. So we've got, this is the hazard light switch and other connectors. This is for the cigarette lighter on here. And then the rest of the central dashboard switches there that sit along the top of the dashboard along here. This is for the radio. This is peculiar to the South African. They've got the South African spec, they've got the ISO connectors. The Td5 ones have got the big fat black connector in there. Here's the fuse box, a bit skew, sits like that. This is a air conditioning connector on here, but these all sit these are very similar to the Td5. The Td5's got a few more relays on the bottom. Looking along behind the bulkhead here, we've got a bunch of headers. We've also got a bunch of headers in here, and these are all hidden under the main part of the dashboard. This section is all quite complicated. If you take the instrument panel off, you'll see these two relays on the back here, which is hazards and then wiper relay on there. This section coming off here is the only loom, extra loom I don't have, but this is the roof loom. It goes off up the A-pillar there. In here we have, let's get these apart. This is the ignition switch in here. These are the ignition switch. This clump of four here. This is the immobilizer passive coil. This is for the fog lamp ECU. This is for the heater controls on there. These three ones are for the stalks, the wipers and the lights on the stalks and the indicators. This is the 10AS alarm unit, these two connectors here. And this dangly bit of wire here, just in case you want to know, this is actually the aerial, so don't worry that it's not connected if you ever see that. This is for the right and front speakers. And then we've got the instrument loom connects onto this connector here. And we've got the two warning light connectors, the 16 pin and the 20 pin. And then this is the speedo loom here, which between Td5 and rest of the world spec, they're very similar, except for there's a separate wire that runs from the speedo to the temperature gauge, which you can actually reverse modify quite easily instead of buying the complete loom. Okay, so imagine now we're under the vehicle. This is the gearbox tunnel under here. So what we have coming under here is, this is from the engine loom. This is the reverse light switch. This goes to the speedo transducer, this 3-pin Iconoscale. And then on here, this is quite specific to 300 TDIs and not TD5s, is it's got a temperature sensor for the transfer case, wired up to a warning light in the dash, which is quite handy. The engine loom comes along here, goes through the grommet into the seat box. As well, we've got diff lock warning light switch. We've got the relay for the glow plugs. We've got, I think, starter motor relay and air conditioning relay and earth, and then the connection to the fuse box. The bulkhead loom comes along similarly under the gearbox. And here we have the handbrake connector. This is the ODB. This is the interrogation diagnostic socket for the alarm in this case, but it'd be for the ECU if it was Td5. Comes into the under seat box. These are the fuse box connectors here, and then this is the connection to the second row door looms if you have a 110 station wagon. Chassis loom then comes out of the bulkhead this side, comes down right in the chassis leg and runs all the way to the back. In the right hand rear wheel arch, we've got the towing electrics connector. We've got fog light, that one is, and indicators, and then that's below in the wheel arch. Those three are below in the wheel arch, and then through the grommet up into the inside of the vehicle. We've got brake light, stop light. We've got connector to the rear door harness if you've got a station wagon, accessory socket, and then rear speakers on there. Following the loom round, we've got a separate bit of the loom for the fuel tank connector. This would also be the fuel pump. On a Td5, this one looks different. It's an amp connector instead of a column seal. This will run the fuel pump as well as the sender. And then the left-hand wheel arch. In the wheel arch underneath, we've got the, this might be the fog light or reverse light, I can never remember which side they're on. And the indicators come through the grommet up into the vehicle, and then we've got the rear speakers here, and the brake lights, and then this is the number plate, put my teeth in, number plate illumination connector. Actually, that's another loom I haven't got connected on here, but it's just two wires that connect into there. So there we go, chassis loom all the way back. This is a T5 right-hand drive bulkhead, and there's a link on the screen to the video I've done about this bulkhead and the story behind it. But this is the layout of the wiring loom on a Defender. As I say, 1999-2006, this is a very accurate layout. Pumas are a bit different. They've got the fuse box kind of under in here in the cab, and the engine looms are a bit different, but the wing looms will be similar, and where it exits on the bulkhead. Earlier vehicles, you can tell a 300 TDI, sort of 1999 and previous vehicle, because they've got a hole here where the wiring loom exits through the vehicle, as well as these two up here. And then for you Td5 owners, I've got the Td5 bulkhead hooked up, and I'm going to walk you around and show you how it's different than the rest of the world 300 TDI spec I've just talked you through. So I'm not going to go through everything again, but just point out some key things here. Right, key differences. Here you've got inertia switch. This comes up in here. The inertia switch is around here somewhere. This connects to that. This, you've got a clutch pedal switch. That's easy, you know, when the clutch pedal's been engaged. This is all the same. The connectors to the chassis loom are a bit different here. You see, I've got the other chassis loom connected up here. You'll see that this one's got an extra wire for running the fuel pump, I think that is, on here. But this one doesn't. This is a basic Td5 bulkhead loom. It doesn't have central door locking or electric windows, and it doesn't have rear speakers on there. This is where the Td5 engine loom would connect on. So these connectors are common, and then same down to the chassis loom down that way. This is the same for the left-hand wing, but then going for the bulkhead loom comes out of the left-hand side of the bulkhead and goes round to the under seat box. Same, you've got the diagnostic port here, the handbrake switch, and then under the seat you've got this big fat connector that goes into the ECU. You've got a few more relays on here for things like the fuel pump, and there's an extra fuse in here, and there's an extra earth that goes on the transfer box, I think, there. In terms of the dashboard, it's very similar. What we got here? Central loom. So this is the radio connector I was talking about. This is the big fat kind of Land Rover connector that goes on the UK vehicles. You would see this in here. This connector here is the headlamp levelling, also as part of the central console on the dashboard. What else have we got here? So there's a few more wires in here as well. These are all the same, immobiliser. There's the fog lamp with the ECU, and wiper stalk switches. There's the alarm unit up into the roof loom here. I guess the keys, here's the speedo. The key differences here are, this one is for the throttle pedal, comes down in here somewhere, in there. And then behind the dashboard, instead of 2 relays, you've got 3. And I've completely gone blank, so I'm going to have to put on the screen what this this third relay is actually for, because I'm only human. In terms of the engine loom connects in also with this big red connector into the ECU here with a grommet. This loom's actually from a Discovery, so there's no point me showing you the rest of it. It's a very different layout. But suffice to say that the engine loom does come in, same as the 300 TDI, to the underseat fuse box here. And the main connection, and it connects in the same place actually on the front, so it connects into the ECU there, and it connects on these connectors here. So that was the difference. The main kind of differences between the Td5 and the 300 TDI rest of the world spec from 2002 to 2006. So there we go. So if you enjoyed that video, then please subscribe, and I will probably post another video that you might enjoy in the future. If you like this, then please share it and hit the thumbs up button. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.